claims Sisodia has the audio tape. BJP hits back at the Aam Aadmi Party, says, if you have the proof, why not go public? Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal backs Manish Sisodia, says his deputy deserves Bharat Ratna. As sources suggest, TRS Neta and daughter are under the lens. KCR's daughter denies role in the liquor scam. Major ISIS terror plot against India averted. Terrorist and Uzbek national recruited in Turkey to plot attack on India. Detail. In fact, we're getting in some update in the Bengal cattle smuggling case in which Trinamool Congress strongman Anubrata Mandal, who's in the custody of the Central Bureau of Investigation, has been questioned by the CBI regarding his alleged links with middleman Abdul Latif. Call data records show that Bengal police officials attached with Mandal was in touch with Latif. CBI is currently examining whether the money collected from the cattle smuggling was rooted in buying immovable properties. In fact, more details now emerging in the investigation that's being carried out by the CBI. What has turned out is that during the last searches that were carried out last week, CBI has recovered incriminating documents in the form of property papers. They currently examining whether the money that was collected from the smuggling was rooted in buying immovable properties. In fact, they've also come across certain properties that were mostly bought in the name of his daughter as well as his deceased wife. CBI has also questioned Mandal on how exactly the cattle was procured from Pushuhat in Ilam Bazar. They've also been able to identify the exact money trail. And some of the proceeds of the crime is suspected to have been diverted to mutual funds. In fact, this is not exactly linked to Anubrata, but turns out that the proceeds of crime was diverted by other accused. In fact, one of the BSF officials in his wife's name, it was the mutual funds that were bought by the accused. Well, in a startling revelation, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia alleged that the BJP offered him chief ministerial post if he joined the party. After this, the Aam Aadmi Party claimed that they have an audio proof of the same. Well, the BJP too has now dared to come out with the name of the leader who made him the offer. While the political mudslinging continues on the backdrop of the liquor gate, many explosive revelations too have emerged. Like Aam Aadmi Party's links to a few businessmen in Delhi operating liquor outlets in prime areas. While Aam Aadmi Party is still mum on the corruption allegation, the party talks about everything else under the sun, right from the education policy to how Sisodia deserves a Bharat Ratna. But as one after the other minister faces corruption charges, will Aam Aadmi Party speak up on the allegations? In fact, through the day, we've also got multiple investigative reports in which it goes on to indicate that there is a murky deal. The deal between certain liquor companies with the excise department. How exactly is it possible that a claim that is, or rather a clause that is being brought in the excise policy says that 150 crore, that should be your annual turnover. Shouldn't that really raise the alarm? The question here is that from the very day this FIR was actually registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation, what we have seen is the Aam Aadmi Party heavily relying on Western media reports, but not a single answer when it comes to the liquor scam. Specific questions were also asked to the Aam Aadmi Party whether at all they had made this particular policy only to benefit a few. But in response, what comes across is just a way to duck all the questions. Here is a report and then we debate.
Massive charges, incriminating evidences, detailed investigations. One after the other, our ministers are coming under the radar of probe agencies in corruption cases. Earlier, it was Satyendra Jain. Now, it is Manish Sisodia. But Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal perpetually comes in defense of his ministers.
मैंने सत्येंद्र जैन के मामले के सारे कागज देखे हैं. केस बिल्कुल फर्जी है.
जिस व्यक्ति ने 5 साल के अंदर करिश्मा करके दिखा दिया, मौजूदा रवायती पार्टियां 70 साल में जो काम नहीं कर पाई, और जिस व्यक्ति ने वो काम करके दिखा दिया कि सरकारी स्कूलों को शानदार बना दिया, इस देश के गरीब बच्चों को भविष्य दे दिया, उस व्यक्ति पे सीबीआई की रेड कराते हो तुम लोग? शर्म नहीं आती तुम लोगों को? और फिर ये अनर्गल बातें कर रहे हो. ऐसे व्यक्ति को तो भारत रत्न मिलना चाहिए.
While justifying now revoked Delhi excise policy, Kejriwal said had to withdraw it unwillingly.
850 दुकानें खुलनी थी दिल्ली के अंदर, एक एक करके 350 दुकानें खुल पाई, 500 दुकानें नहीं खुल पाई. जिस तरह से केंद्र सरकार और सारी एजेंसीज दबाव डाल रही थी हमारे अफसरों के ऊपर, अफसरों ने उस पॉलिसी के तहत नई दुकानें का ठेका करना, नीलामी करने के लिए मना कर दिया. वो पॉलिसी बहुत अच्छी है, हम किसी के साथ भी डिबेट करने के लिए तैयार हैं. हमारे पास ऑप्शन नहीं थी. अगर हम वो नहीं करते, सारी दुकानें बंद हो जाती और वहां पे नकली दारू बिकनी चालू हो जाती, जैसे आज गुजरात के अंदर है.
Meanwhile, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia made an explosive claim saying that BJP offered him post of Chief Minister.
बीजेपी ज्वाइन करके, पार्टी तोड़ के बीजेपी ज्वाइन कर लीजिए और हम आपको सीएम बना देंगे.
The Aam Aadmi Party claimed that they have an audio proof of the same, backing Sisodia's claim.
दिल्ली के उप मुख्यमंत्री ने ये खुलासा किया कि उनके ऊपर जो सीबीआई की ईडी की धरपकड़ हो रही है, उससे संबंधित उनको एक मैसेज आया है भारतीय जनता पार्टी से. भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने कहा है, आप भाजपा में आ जाइए, आपके सारे केस हम सुलट लेंगे.
We have recently seen this is exactly what happened in Maharashtra, where many cases were filed with the CB, with the CBI, with the ED, or many of the people, the MLAs in the ruling coalition. And then on the other hand, using that as a threat, many of them were asked to break away and form a new government. This is exactly what the BJP is trying in Delhi. They offered to Mr. Manish Sisodia that if he was to join the BJP, number one, all places would be closed, and number two, that they would make him the Chief Minister of Delhi.
But the BJP is not backing down. After massive claims made by the AAP leaders, the BJP has asked them to release the audio tape and make the name of the leader public who made an offer to Manish Sisodia. But AAP, which till now has been crying vendetta politics, will come out with proof, or is this just another deflection from the core issue? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Well, in fact, it's a sensational claim that has been made by the Aam Aadmi Party, which faces some very serious allegations, not for the first time. In fact, after Satyendra Jain, it is now the turn of Manish Sisodia. Joining us on the burning question, Anuja Kapoor of the BJP, Binay Singh, political analyst, Pratik Sob, lawyer and spokesperson of the JJP, Siddharth Sharma, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, Akil Khan, political analyst, and Bachchu Srinivas, who is the spokesperson of the TRS. Opening up first is Siddharth Sharma of the Aam Aadmi Party and Anuja Kapoor. We'll have the face-off beginning right at the top of the burning question. Siddharth Sharma, let me ask you this question. It's a sensational claim that you are making. What stops you from really disclosing the name of the BJP leader who's trying to lure Manish Sisodia, or as you put it, an attempt that has been made by the BJP leader to break the Aam Aadmi Party? That's a big claim.
Yeah, Shravan, BJP, the truth today is that the BJP is totally spooked by Aam Aadmi Party. The reason is simple, that they are trying their first they try to malign the name of a good person by calling him corrupt, by alleging him corrupt, and then they reach out to the same person saying that if you change your sides and you become the face of BJP in Delhi, we are ready to drop all your charges. Now, the question is, who is doing all this? It's for the BJP to say,
Siddharth, I'm sorry,
we are telling it
I hate to interrupt. Siddharth, I hate to interrupt.
Yeah. No, you can't. You can't.
No,
can't.
Siddharth,
You
I
have
hate
asked
to
a question,
interrupt
I'll
because,
answer to that. Obviously, I'll answer to that.
No, I asked you a different
You
question.
had to
I think so.
interrupt,
Let me repeat the question for you.
Let me complete
the question for you.
Yeah.
No, one second. I'm directly asking you a straightforward question. I want the answer to that question, and then perhaps we can take it forward. You can give the certificates that Manish Sisodia essentially requires, that you're free to do so. You'll be allowed to do so also. But I'm asking you a straightforward question because today, the biggest story has been with Manish Sisodia actually going to Gujarat and making that sensational allegation, saying that there was an attempt to buy him over, or as Atishi points out, saying that perhaps one has to enter the BJP's washing machine to get themselves washed off. But if that's the claim that you're making, what stops you from naming the BJP leader, or does your party has the intention of naming the BJP leader?
Exactly. I was coming to that. I'm going to name the people who have been approaching Manish Sisodia. These are the same people who approached Mr. Hemant Biswa Sharma when he was in Congress and BJP was going hammer tongs against Hemant Biswa Sharma on corruption, and once he was reached out to by certain gangs of BJP, he turned into BJP. These are the same gangs of BJP people who reached out to Mr. Suvendhu Adhikari when he was in TMC and he was charged with corruption, and they tried to and they successfully brought him into BJP. These are the same gang of BJP people who got in touch with Mr. Baijayant Panda and got him into BJP. These are the same gang of people who reached out to Mr. Narayan Rane when he was in the opposition. BJP charged Narayan Rane with corruption and then brought him into the BJP. These are the same people who reached out to Manish Sisodia today and told him unequivocally that if you change your sides, come to BJP, we'll make you the face of BJP in Delhi because we don't have a face. And then they say that if you come to our side, we are going to totally erase off all your cases. Now, the moot question is, this is an excise policy. What is the case? The problem with BJP today is that BJP stands for bankruptcy of policy, and it is spooked by Arvind Kejriwal's competency. BJP literally gets spooked by Arvind Kejriwal's competency. How? The excise policy that the Delhi government is bringing, it has been passed it has been discussed and discussed on the floor of the House in the legislature. It got the concurrence of the former LG, and 2 days before this policy was going to take shape on the ground, the new LG puts in certain restrictions and says that the excise policy is wrong. Now, how come an excise policy is wrong, which is increasing the state exchequer's revenue by 1,300 crores, at the same time not increasing a single vend? And if this excise policy of Delhi government is wrong, please, by God, tell me how come Gujarat excise policy is right, where hundreds and dozens of people are dying due to huge tragedy? How come Gujarat excise policy is not being hounded by the EC, by the CBI and the ED? Exactly. That is the reason why the Supreme Court also of India has clearly said that the CBI and ED now seem to be the caged parrots. BJP, that was said when during the Congress's regime. Today they've become trained hounds. They are not anymore caged parrots. Now, they are trained hounds.
Mr. Sharma,
they just unleash their hounds.
Mr.
And
Sharma, I think so you will be satisfied. You've made your opening
people,
remarks.
Then you say that, okay, come to our side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied now? You've made your opening remarks. Can I now ask you a follow-up question just based on what you have essentially said? And promise me only one thing. There is no point. I'll give you the chance to take on the BJP also in a short while from now. But I think so. Imagine a perfect situation right now, Mr. Sharma, that you are essentially trying to project your party as the squeaky clean party of the country. Fair enough. So you would like to at least answer some questions to ensure that these allegations that have been leveled against you does not hold. Now I'm asking you pointed just 2 questions, Mr. Sharma. Try your best to at least answer directly rather than the whataboutery. is it true that the Delhi government was accused of favoring large distribution of companies by stipulating a condition, Mr. Sharma, and that condition is this, that there should be an annual turnover of 150 crore rupees for 3 previous years to bid for L1 license. Now, Mr. Sharma, just answer this question. How did you actually come to a conclusion that it should be 150 crore annual turnover, not 100, not 80, not 90?
Well, as I said, Shravan, these issues were discussed threadbare in the Assembly of Delhi, and if a liquor policy is bringing in good revenue, whether it is 100 crores or 150 crores, obviously there have been a survey and a set amount would have been set, and there have been bidders. The Delhi excise policy ensured that 9,000 crores of revenue was supposed to be generated through this new excise policy. Now, whether it is 100 crores, how much was it earlier? It was at 5 crores. From 5 crores, if Aam Aadmi Party is bringing in an excise policy which is giving the exchequers 150 crores, where is the wrong in it? It is bringing in money to the exchequer. It is bringing in money to the government. It is bringing in money so that welfare schemes can be happened.
One thing that you
now,
got
for the second question.
Okay.
Let me complete, Shravan. And now, if the Aam Aadmi Party's policy was wrong, how come the CAG, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, today says that the fiscal policy of Delhi is one of the best in India? That is a contradiction, right? That is a contradiction according to you. A fiscal policy which is certified by the CAG as being fiscally prudent is being asked on a TV debate whether that policy is good or bad. That is the crux of the question. The CAG is certifying us. It is not I am certifying Aam Aadmi Party. The CAG run by the union government is certifying the fiscal policy of Aam Aadmi Party of the Delhi government as a prudent fiscal policy.
You made a mention, Mr. Sharma. Okay. You made a mention of 150 crore. I was not talking about 150 crore as the revenue that the Delhi government was getting. 150 crore was the capping that you had basically put in terms of annual turnover of companies who can actually bid. I want Anuja to now respond. Anuja, you've heard the opening remarks of the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson. Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson is saying that this was a policy which was discussed threadbare. This was discussed with the former LG, passed the buck on the former LG also. So why exactly do you really have a problem with a policy as the Aam Aadmi Party is touting as the country's best excise policy?
Ask them, when did they ask for the meeting? Ask them. When did you have a cabinet meeting, sir? When? 8th April, you already waived off 144.36 crore rupees. Tell me, when did you did the cabinet meeting? You did the cabinet meeting on 14th of July. You asked the LG to come hurriedly. So you tell me, you think you're trying to create a fool people out here, a group of fools which Arvind Kejriwal is already heading? The problem is, you have already been promising lies to the people all around, and you went back to the policy of BJP because it was the best policy around. If it wouldn't, you would not have never done that, because what Arvind Kejriwal says, he always says that I am the best, my policies are the best, because when we talk about even the ration, we talk about what's supposed to be given to the poor, you put your name and you do it. Now what happened? You hurriedly, because you knew CBI was coming, the LG had already spoken to, and LG was only being given the response and the report by their Delhi Chief Secretary. He made 15 pages report, and that is when after that, because you know your Manish was getting behind bars, now what you have done is you have started playing around with the DTC thing. You started playing around with the load test thing. You started playing around with the many other stuff, education, health, but you're not answering the questions on that. Why did you go back? We are the people who are putting up an illegal markets. We are putting up the people with hoarding with illegal whiskies and licenses related to this. So you should have not gone to on our policy. What made you turn back?
Okay. Anuja.
The only problem with you is
I'll give Siddharth the chance to respond. Okay. No, but Anuja, I'll give Siddharth the chance to respond. But one thing at the start of the debate, Anuja, I want you to respond. Siddharth, I'll give you the chance to respond also, and then I'll open up the debate for others. But Anuja, this is something that I know is going to come in the course of this entire debate, and I want the BJP's position on this entire matter. Through the day, if you have seen, Aam Aadmi Party has basically taken the name of several of your leaders, starting from Shubhendu Adhikari to your Assam Chief Minister, several others. Narayan Rane being the other person. The allegation, not just from the Aam Aadmi Party, but the entire opposition. TRS is also joining us on this debate. I'll also bring in the TRS in a while from now. Anuja, is the BJP really the washing machine as the opposition claims? Because if that's the case, why is it that not a single leader of yours who've been facing some serious charges are also facing the agencies? The agencies don't seem to be interested in calling any of your leaders. Now, that's what the opposition parties have also been alleging. So I want your position right at the start of the debate so that that's clear for everyone else in the panel right now. At least you get an answer to that question that in all likelihood you will be bringing it up. And then Siddharth, you can quickly respond. I'll bring in the TRS also.
CBI is no.
Yeah,
CBI
Shavan,
is
this
not
question
BJP.
is to the
Who's
BJP
speaking?
via
Is
the
it you
anchor
or
Siddharth, 1
of
minute.
this
Just
program.
Anuja, I have asked Anuja a question. I've asked Anuja the question because I know, this is something. No, I'm not hijacking. Siddharth, this is the question. This is exactly what your party in multiple press conferences have been asking.
Now this has to be an equal timings.
Anuja, go ahead, respond, and then Siddharth, a quick response. Yeah.
So what I am telling is CBI is not an earnest of BJP. It is not a behest of BJP, okay? And if it is not the behest of BJP, it is not the behest of then Congress also. It is not the behest of Aam Aadmi Party, because Aam Aadmi Party believes that everybody is doing what they want to do. They only want to divert the topic from here and there because BJP is specifically asking the questions, what did you do with the money which you wavered off, and 30 crore which you wavered off? Why did you do that? Why did you give them back? Why did you give the retails, the blacklisted companies and the cartel you allowed, where in your own policy also it says that it is not allowed according to the Delhi new excise policy also? Why did you do that? We want answers. Then you were receiving the surplus sale of 20,000 crore. Then your Atishi and your
okay,
Nagar
you've made
Chandra,
your point.
They also
Let Siddharth, a
points.
quick response. Okay, Anuja, I need to also bring in. There are other panelists who are waiting here patiently also. I want a quick response from Siddharth. Siddharth, a direct allegation. Siddharth, a direct allegation against. Direct allegation. Siddharth, hear me out. It's a direct allegation that has been leveled against your party, that you are basically favoring the wholesalers. I'm going to put out the facts in a short while from now, but a quick response to what Anuja had to say, Siddharth, and I'll also get it my other panelists. Quick response.
Yeah. With respect to the other panelists, I'll just take 20 seconds. And this is not a question to Anusha. This is a question to Shavan, which if he deems fit, he will have to ask Anusha. The debate today has two portions. One is the political angle and the other is the policy angle of excise.
Are you the anchor?
The political angle I've already spoken about. As far as this excise policy is concerned, Shavan, you will have to ask the person that if the Delhi excise policy is wrong, which policy of which state is it being compared to? Whether it is being compared to Gujarat, whether the Gujarat's excise policy is good, whether the huge tragedy is happening in Gujarat is good. Now, when a policy is discussed, it has to be discussed in comparison with someone.
Anuja, hold on. Speaking over each other is not going to really work. One second, Anuja.
My debate.
Anuja, 1 minute. Hold on. Anuja, you post some.
Very simple.
1 second, both of you. Anuja and Siddharth. Hold on. 1 minute.
What is his connection with Saurabh?
No, 1 second. Let me ask those questions. Anuja, you've already asked this question. Anuja, come on. Hold on. Anuja, you've already asked those questions. Let Siddharth respond. Siddharth, quick response with regards to Anuja is asking you, when did the cabinet meeting happen? Wasn't the LG hurriedly called in? This is after you had already taken the decision. And not just that, Siddharth, it also turns out that your group of ministers, it was a conscious decision of the group of ministers of Delhi government, which included Manish Sisodia, to create a monopoly of large companies by eliminating the smaller players. Now that's an allegation. A quick response, Siddharth.
Yeah. For the first response, very, very clear that something which has already been discussed in the legislature. Aam Aadmi Party is a party which believes in democracy and it has discussed this issue in legislature. Unlike Mr. Modi's government, which likes to bring in things through a cabinet meeting or through a singular individual and bring ordinances. The point number two. Come on, Anusha. When you are speaking, I was listening to you, Anuja. Anuja, this excise policy has been discussed.
Anuja, this is not going to be.
Excise policy has been discussed in the floor.
Anuja and Siddharth, you cannot perhaps hijack this entire thing. Okay, now if you both want to continue like this, let me get in the other guests also right now. Anuja, you cannot do this. Let Siddharth at least respond. I'll give you the chance to even question him, but let Siddharth respond, and please.
Yeah.
There are other panelists also.
Yeah, to the specific question of Anuja. To the specific question of Anuja, whether this discussion was happened whether in the cabinet or not, this discussion already has happened on the floor of the house in the legislature. So it is a democratic process. The excise policy being brought in by Delhi is through a democratic process.
The second
question which Shavan had asked regarding the revenue, any government has to bring in a policy which brings in the highest revenue. We cannot be seen. Our government cannot be seen to be favoring small or big people. It has to ensure that enough revenue comes into the exchequer. And this excise policy brings in 1,300 crores.
This can't go on. No, both of you want to just shout. Both of you want to just shout over each other. Let me bring in Binay and Atil Khan. I'll request both my political guests. No, okay. You want to just pass on the buck on each other. 1 second. This can't go on. There is a serious issue that we are really discussing right now. Binay, if I can come to you, you've heard both the political parties, the BJP on the one hand and the Aam Aadmi Party. There are basic questions. At least I can raise some 10 questions as far as the excise policy in itself is concerned. And some things are, for any layman, they're going to ask this basic question. You have exactly 2 wholesalers in the entire city. Those 2 wholesalers happens to be Indo Spirit and Brindco Spirits. They have some links, I am given to understand, with the Deputy Chief Minister. Now that's not what I am saying, the CBI FIR says. Binay, if the Aam Aadmi Party is absolutely serious, and they claim that they are squeaky clean, there is a high possibility they can be squeaky clean, there is no harm in being that, and they are after all harbingers of perhaps bringing in clean politics in this country. But if that's the case, why is it so very difficult? Atil Khan, why is it so very difficult for the Aam Aadmi Party to basically respond to some of those questions that are being repeatedly being asked as far as the liquor scam is concerned? Binay first and then Atil.
First of all,
Shavan, let me put let me put this in a very technical way. I must.
Shavan, I should say.
I can speak first.
No, go ahead. Binay, go ahead first, and then Atil can respond.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah, Shavan,
Atil, you can respond. Let Binay make his point.
Shavan, let me put this case in a very technical way. Let me put this case in a very technical way. Any tender, it is a central government tender or any state government tender, the binding instruction for any tender is the CBC guideline. So all tenders are guided, or they are bounded to follow the CBC guidelines, and that is the binding force. So again, any tender, if you take this liquor tender, so it is based on the instructions of the CBC, and you can say that is the Bible, that is the bottom line. So whatever the pre-qualification you are going to put, the financial pre-qualification or the technical, that is based on the previous records or the previous business of the same project. So in the last year or in the last 5 years, what kind of liquor business has been carried out in what volume? So that will ascertain that what will be the financial pre-qualification for that tender. So it is 150 you just mentioned. So that will be based on those 5 years, the previous 5 years. So again, Sawan, if CBI has booked a case, that is not ultimate. CBI will have to prove that in court, and I think without evidence, CBI won't put their hand into any case. And let me come to a very important point. We are discussing New York Times for the last 3-4 days. So let me take you to a brief tour of New York Times. In the last 100 years, Sawan, you are aware that nearly 100 allegations of cheating, of racism, of corruption, they were labeled against New York Times, and in many of the cases New York Times even apologized. So I want to say that Kejriwal and his party, they have a history, and the newspaper you are quoting New York Times,
that's the other aspect. Atil, why would the Aam Aadmi Party? Okay, once Binay, you've made a point. I want Atil to come in. Atil, why would the Aam Aadmi Party have to rely on the New York Times or the Western media? Atil. Okay, Binay, you got my... Atil, just respond to this. Can you recollect in the last few hours or in the last few days from the time this FIR has been registered? Binay, just let me ask this question to Atil. Atil, can you or anyone in this panel actually, anyone, Akhil Khan, can anyone recollect right now that whether at all in the last few days, from the time the FIR has been registered, the Aam Aadmi Party, has it actually responded on the single allegation? All that they have been repeating is only one line, that Manish Sisodia is the best education minister. Manish Sisodia is a very clean man. Manish Sisodia should be hailed as a revolutionary man who's brought in all the necessary changes, reforms in the education sector. All fair enough. No one is going debating that. For a minute, for the sake of argument, he is what the Aam Aadmi Party is claiming. Very good. But Akhil Khan, can we get one single answer when it comes to the liquor scam?
First of all, when it started, when it all started, only after New York Times have published image of Manish Sisodia praising his education model in the world, that it is
you just make a payment to New York Times. They will say that it was not Neil Armstrong but you, Mr. Akhil Khan, who landed on the moon first. NYT can publish an article that you landed on the moon first. It was not Neil Armstrong. Just make them a payment.
It is Mr. Modi wanted to land on moon.
Let Akhil respond.
Denied that it is a fake news when Modi published his face in the New York Times, and then New York Times said no, this is fake news. And for this,
one second, Akhil Khan, you're getting it everything wrong.
Said that it is
Akhil Khan and Binay Singh, the debate is not about New York Times. No, 1 second. I'm not concerned about, one second. The debate is not about, the debate is not, Akhil Khan, there's no point. 1 second, Akhil Khan, what was the question that I asked you? Let me remind you. No, 1 second, Akhil Khan, come on. Raising your voice does not really mean that you have any substance in your argument. I'm asking you a simple, direct question. I'm not bothered about what the New York Times has to say and what is the timings of the publication. Now, let me tell you, 1 second, Akhil Khan. No, 1 second. When was the FIR registered? When was the FIR registered? Get your facts correct. No. Why don't you come to the debate with some of the facts? When was the FIR registered? When was the FIR registered? Please give me a specific answer. Give me a specific answer. Before you say that the raids were basically carried out, because that time morning the CBI basically woke up on the table. They had NYT. NYT was lying on the table and they said, look here, Manish Sisodia's face is on New York Times, so let's do something. Let's pack our bags. Let's go to Manish Sisodia's residence and let's start the searches. Is that the level? Is that the discourse that you really want to have, Akhil Khan? Are you seriously telling this entire country that the CBI just woke up in the morning and then they saw New York Times lying on the table? I'm sure that I have my doubts. I have my doubts whether the New York Times really goes to the CBI headquarters. But the fact of the matter is that are you really telling the whole world today that you basically wake up in the morning, CBI woke up and they found out that the education minister's face is on their front page. So they did not like it. So what they did was they packed their bags early morning at 7:30. They landed at the Deputy Chief Minister's residence. They also went to 29 other locations. They carried out the searches.
Don't put your words in my mouth, please. Please don't put your words in my mouth. You are not listening to me. You are not allowing me to explain the thing. You are not allowing me to reply the things. Please give me 30 seconds.
You will come back and say the same point. I'm giving you the time. 30 seconds, I'll give you the time to respond.
Okay. Nobody should disturb. First of all, LG in June, they had 3 times returned this proposal by Manish Sisodia for the policy, Abkari policy, excise policy, 3 times. And then finally agreed. And they signed it. If anything wrong in that policy, then first of all, LG must be punished. LG must be inquired first, because he is the owner. He is the person who has allowed all these things to do. After 3 times returning it to the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, next is you have put 900 CBI officers. 31 raids.
You're asking a nonsense question.
Investigation.
LG was the only one who has started the CBI investigation. You don't know anything, sir.
Nothing.
Okay.
You are talking about LG.
Pratik Som of the JJP. Pratik Som of the JJP. Okay, Pratik Som of the JJP. Pratik Som. Okay, Anuja, I'll bring you in with Bachchu Srinivas also. Anuja, hold on. I need to go to. Let me bring in Pratik. Anuja, just hold on. Pratik.
She doesn't know.
One second, Akil Khan, hold on. Akil Khan, hold on. Can I get Pratik Som? Pratik Som.
Allegation.
Pratik Som. One second, Akil. No, 1 second. These are your Akil, Pratik Som, Akil and everyone else on the other side is again and again raising this entire point that this was discussed in the Legislative Assembly. This was a policy there was discussions back and forth between the LG and the Aam Aadmi Party government for several months put together. Now that's what they claim. But the fact of the matter here is that despite that, on 30th of July, the best excise policy was essentially withdrawn. Today, the Chief Minister of Delhi has said that, look here, at least it is important that the policy is in place so that we don't have huge tragedy. He compared it to what happens in Gujarat and he said that is the reason why the policy was reverted. Pratik Som.
See, please give me 1 minute of uninterrupted time for my submissions. See, first of all, we have to understand that a major scam of thousands of crore has happened where a state exchequer has faced a loss. And there is a serious lapses in terms of the policies. Now, coming on the merits of the case, we have to see that if this policy is such a wonderful policy that, state has gathered so much of revenue, then why on the registration of FIR, why the same Aam Aadmi Party government withdrawn this policy and reinstated the old policy which was implemented by BJP, point number 1. Another very important point, because I've read the FIR, there is a major serious lapse on part of Mr. Manish Sisodia. There is a company by the name of Buddy Retail. So they have made a bid of 144 crore and that money quitted. Mr. Sisodia upon his orders has returned back.
Pratik, there seems to be some problem with your audio line. Pratik, there seems to be some problem with your audio line. No, I'm not interrupting you. There's a problem with your audio line.
You are telling lies.
All right. So,
Akil, hold on. One second. Pratik, we'll try and Pratik, Akil Khan, can you stop?
All right.
Can you stop heckling
now
around?
this one.
Akil Khan, can you stop
Now
doing that?
this
Let me also
140
bring in, Bachu Srinivas has been waiting here
See,
patiently.
now this
1 minute.
144 crore of
Pratik
state
will come back to
exchequer
you.
money has been returned back as
No, Pratik, there is a
by in
problem with your
violation of
audio
policy,
line.
and that money was to be forfeited.
Pratik, there is a problem with your audio line. We'll try and sort that out. Let me bring in Bachu Srinivas. Bachu Srinivas and Anuja can come in. Bachu Srinivas, today what we saw was another sensational allegation that has been leveled against the TRS. Kavita has already come on record saying that these are some baseless allegations that have been leveled against her. And perhaps Anuja needs to answer that how exactly is it that even before the Central Bureau of Investigation has called anyone from the TRS, Anuja, you've had one of your parliamentarians taking the name of the TRS. And then what happens is that an allegation is leveled that this was a liquor company has booked a five-star suite here in the national capital. There were meetings that were essentially done. And all of this is with an attempt to try and muzzle the voice of the opposition. What is very surprising, Anuja, is that CBI has not called anyone from the TRS. So how exactly has your party ended up taking the name of the TRS? And Bachu also can come in. But first, Anuja, on what basis did you make that allegation of the TRS essentially being involved? Because it appears today, Kavita has come on record saying that these are mere allegations and they'll always remain an allegation.
So I think, Miss Kavita has nothing to do with this, right? She was the one who brought many vendors on the board and she had to talk about with them, with Manish Sisodia on related to this. Don't you think it is just a coincidence?
What is the proof, Anuja?
They were giving 18 crores.
Anuja, what is the proof?
Credit note to them. No, don't you think
But Anuja, what is the proof? TRS is asking you what is the proof?
The proof, sir, CBI will give.
No, what is the proof?
I will give here, the CBI, I'm not a CBI. The proof will be given by the CBI.
You are making the allegation. No, you are making the allegation. Anuja, your party is making the allegation against the TRS.
Sir, there is a smoke.
No, CBI has not mentioned TRS in their FIR as yet.
Sir, there is
no, there is no FIR against the TRS. We are asking this question of the Aam Aadmi Party because their deputy chief minister has been named as accused number 1. But as far as the TRS is concerned, they are not named as yet in the FIR. Even before they are named, you are making an allegation. So what I am saying that why don't you directly ask this question to Bachu Srinivas? Bachu Srinivas, you've heard what Anuja has to say. Anuja is saying that there have been meetings that have taken place, meetings in the national capital, in which Kavita was actually present. There are liquor companies which have been introduced to Manish Sisodia. These are allegations that have been leveled against the TRS. Why don't you respond?
No, as our leader, Mrs. Kavita, responded on this, she said very clearly, the baseless allegations are made by the BJP West MP Parvez Sharma. If really any proofs are there, we fight against the national government. Recently, she responded against the Gujarat lady Bano issue also, and about employment. And from southern part, only Mr. KCR is fighting against Mr. Modi ji, anti-federalism, hiking up prices and all. So now let me complete. Unnecessarily you are coming into the matter. You are not allowing anybody to speak.
Anuja, let Bachu Srinivas. Anuja, come on.
Kindly wait.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. He hasn't got the chance to respond. Anuja, don't do that. Let Bachu Srinivas at least respond.
Even she said that
let Bachu Srinivas at least respond.
She is going to file the defamation suit. And she is going to file a defamation suit, and we fight against the central government. We don't leave it here. And if the baseless allegations are made by the central BJP, the allegation she said, and we are also saying, if the baseless allegations will remain like allegations only, further we'll fight. If really any proofs are there, without proof they are making allegations. Unnecessarily they are drawing the KCR family into the matter. This is purely a baseless things are going on only due to the KCR is fighting against the Modi ji, and Kavita is also fighting.
Okay.
Kavita ji is also fighting against the Modi ji. So these kind of things cannot make us cannot make us weak, and we are more strengthened. We fought 14 years to separate the Telangana. We know how to face this kind of challenges, and we face all the consequences.
Okay. I just want a quick response.
She said very clearly. All the ED, whatever CBI, something, all institutions are with them only. We support, we cooperate with them. They can go for any kind of raids with us.
Okay, you're willing to cooperate. Okay, I just want Siddharth of the Aam Aadmi Party, because these are the last few minutes. I want Siddharth and Anuja to end the debate. Siddharth, one final question to you, and then Anuja can also respond. Now, the question here is that Manish Sisodia is also already preempting what the CBI is essentially going to do. But the fact of the matter is that I haven't really heard Manish Sisodia essentially responding to specific questions as to whether at all he knows 4 people whom in the FIR, the Central Bureau of Investigation has been calling close associates of the Deputy Chief Minister, people who are responsible for collecting commissions from the licensees.
Yeah, what the FIR states by the CBI is that CBI has come to know about this from certain sources. Even the CBI is not sure. As far as Manish saying something is concerned, once it is under investigation, he will have to, and he will obviously cooperate with the investigators. One very nice thing, very strange thing that has happened, if you go back to the recording of this program, is that as Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, no spokesperson in this program today either spoke about New York Times or education issue. We were speaking only about the BJP's offer to Manish Sisodia as well as the excise policy. That is why I am saying that BJP today is spooked by Aam Aadmi Party. It is spooked by Kejriwal's competence. And adding fuel to the fire, now it is also becoming clear that whenever they fear some political party, like even TRS of Telangana, they are going to intimidate them because they can't challenge a policy either in the legislature. See, a policy can always be challenged in the legislature, a policy can always be challenged in the court, and a policy can always be challenged through protest on the street.
Because I need...
BJP is choosing not to do either of these three and hurting the federal structure of India by going against opposition even in faraway states like Telangana. They're not speaking about policy.
Are you trying to intimidate? I've got your point. I've got your point. Now, Anuja, the question here is that are you basically trying to intimidate the opposition? Because what happens, you've heard the TRS on this debate, you've heard the Aam Aadmi Party. TRS is saying that you don't have anything to prove, and that's the reason why you are basically shooting off from your other parliamentarians by making these baseless allegations. Aam Aadmi Party is also saying the same thing.
Sir, don't you realize this, what they are doing? Don't you see that the same kind of policy is in line with in Telangana and in Punjab? Don't you see this? They have been doing this, and now when we are talking about it, they are putting guns on us. The thing is very much straightforward. Why Telangana did we say? Why not we did something else? Why was the only Telangana state was being forward? Because Kavita was the one who has been talking about it. Well, wasn't they have paid? This is what again I'm asking, the credit notes. Weren't the meetings happened in Oberoi hotels? Weren't the room numbers, which we will not disclose here, was the particular room they were meeting in various other hotels too? Why and how? Shyama Kapoor, Geeta Kapoor and Tarun Kalra, the father, mother, maternal uncle of Mrs. Geetika Mehta is connected with Manish Sisodia. I want to know how this is happening.
Okay, I'm really running short of time, Siddharth.
This is an amazing thing which has happened.
Both of you have made your points. Both of you have made your points. I'm really short. You know. Okay, Siddharth, you've made your point. Anuja also, you've made your point. Thank you very much, Anuja, Siddharth, Binay, Pratik, Akil Khan and Bachu Srinivas for joining us on The Burning Question.
वो पॉलिसी बहुत अच्छी है, हम किसी के साथ भी डिबेट करने के लिए तैयार हैं। हमारे पास ऑप्शन नहीं थी, अगर हम वो नहीं करते सारी दुकानें बंद हो जाती और वहाँ पे नकली दारू बिकनी चालू हो जाती जैसे आज गुजरात के अंदर है। इसीलिए हम पुरानी वाली पॉलिसी पे चले गए।
Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 private university for the 10th year by India Today, a testimony to Amity's world-class education whilst imbibing values and sanskars in students.
Where the software engineer meets the cool UI UX designer to create the big dream. The world comes together at Sharda University.
He has called for a crucial meeting in Jammu today. According to sources, the meeting is being called to prepare a political strategy to counter the Gupkar Alliance's allegations, where the Gupkar Alliance has said that 25 new non-local voters are being added. Former Deputy Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and the BJP leader Kavindra Gupta has attacked the opposition parties and accused them of spreading misinformation about new voting rules. Backing the Election Commission's clarification, he said that the opposition is trying to mislead people. An office of the Congress was vandalized in Vijaypur in Karnataka after posters of V.D. Savarkar were pasted at the site by an unidentified person. The police have booked a case. Stones were hurled at Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's cavalcade in Patna yesterday, following which 13 people have been arrested. According to locals, the incident happened at around 5 in the evening at the Sodimode Gauri Chuk police station area, where a road blockade was underway over the death of a local man.
As political altercations grow around the posters of V.D. Savarkar in Karnataka, posters of V.D. Savarkar were seen pasted at an office of the Congress in Vijaypura. At least 8 to 10 photographs of the freedom fighter had been pasted by an unidentified person at the office. While the police is on a lookout for the person responsible for the act, personnel of the police were stationed at the Congress office. Altercations around the posters have grown on multiple occasions in the recent days. While one on the first incidents was reported from Shivamoga, altercations between the BJP and Congress were later reported at Tumakuru and Dharwad, with Congress leader Siddharamaya's convoy being attacked in one of the occasions. The Savarkar posters were removed by the police at the Vijaypura Congress office. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
The top updates right now, slamming the CBI raids against his deputy Manish Sisodia. Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal, who's in the poll-bound state of Gujarat, said that he should be given a Bharat Ratna for reforming Delhi government schools, but instead is being targeted by the centre for political motives. Russia has said
all right, a breaking news development coming in. We broke in the evening, viewers, that the Islamic State bomber who was headed to India to target some top VIPs in the establishment has been identified as an Uzbek national. Now more details coming in, and that's his name is Mashrabakhan and surname is Azamov. He is nationality of Uzbekistan. That's an important development coming in. The ISIS bomber who was headed to India after having been recruited in Turkey by the Islamic State to carry out a big suicide bombing or terror attack in India to take revenge for the Prophet comments in a TV debate has been identified by the Russian intelligence agency, the FSB, which is the successor to the KGB, as Mashrabakhan Azamov, an Uzbek national from Uzbekistan. So from Uzbekistan, he went to Turkey, hired, trained in Turkey, on way to India via Russia, Moscow, to give him a fig leaf that he was actually coming in from Moscow. But what is more important is that as it comes out from his confession, that he was to get a lot of ground support from someone in India or somebody in India or some terror cell in India, and that's something which has got the agencies worried. So whether this is the handiwork of some elements within the deep state in our neighborhood, and to that extent, those connections are being looked at. What is important is that this Azamov was to come and land in India somewhere, and then he was to be provided ground support. So given the fact that in most of the cases we have seen when it comes to Islamic State, most of the handlers are based out of Pakistan, whether Pakistan, either it's deep state, which means the agencies like the ISI, or the terror network that many times is on its own, was coordinating with the Islamic State in Khorasan, or Islamic State in the Middle East, in the Levant as it is called, and facilitating Azamov's suicide bombing in India. And that's something which gives a very new dimension to this entire episode, which is panning out. But importantly, agencies in Russia and in India coordinating to go to the bottom of this and make sure that all the points and all the dots are connected, and we know exactly who's behind this dastardly plan, which possibly targeted or intended to target some top levels of government in India in this terrorist attack, in which a foreigner was being used possibly for the first time.
वो पॉलिसी बहुत अच्छी है, हम किसी के साथ भी डिबेट करने के लिए तैयार हैं। हमारे पास ऑप्शन नहीं थी, अगर हम वो नहीं करते सारी दुकानें बंद हो जाती और वहां पे नकली दारू बिकनी चालू हो जाती, जैसे आज गुजरात के अंदर है। इसीलिए हम पुरानी वाली पॉलिसी पे चले गए।
Debating tonight at 9 p.m. Horror show in Bihar, law and order goes for a toss.
कहता है कि पुलिस वाले दरिया अब तेरी खैर नहीं, बूंदों ने बगावत कर दी है। अरे नादा ना समझ बुद्धि
Is Jungle Raj Nitish's model for the country? Debating tonight at 10 p.m.
आग को फैलने से रोकना मुश्किल है, पर नामुमकिन नहीं। अब फायरवॉल टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम आग से बचाए।
Amity has been ranked India's #1 private university for the 10th year by India Today, a testimony to Amity's world-class education whilst imbibing values and sanskars in students.
An office of the Congress was vandalized in Vijaypur in Karnataka after posters of V.D. Savarkar were pasted at the site by an unidentified person. The police have booked a case. Stones were hurled at Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's cavalcade in Patna yesterday, following which 13 people have been arrested. According to locals, the incident happened at around 5 in the evening at the Sodimode Gauri Chuk police station area, where a road blockade was underway over the death of a local man.
As political altercations grow around the posters of V.D. Savarkar in Karnataka, posters of V.D. Savarkar were seen pasted at an office of the Congress in Vijaypura. At least 8 to 10 photographs of the freedom fighter had been pasted by an unidentified person at the office. While the police is on a lookout for the person responsible for the act, personnel of the police were stationed at the Congress office. Altercations around the posters have grown on multiple occasions in the recent days. While one on the first incident was reported from Shivamoga, altercations between the BJP and Congress were later reported at Tumakuru and Dharwad, with Congress leader Siddharamaya's